Right, I've done a full walk-around tour of the Renaissance, which is now sailing under the Ambassador Cruises flag, and I'll put a link to that up here for you. But what I wanted to do is I wanted to give you my opinion of it all. And what I'll do is I'll give you this now, and I'll give it you under certain headings and a little bit of background to the ship and the cruises and everything. And whilst I'm doing that, I'll put some clips up of the ship and, you know, some little bits from the walk around and some of the places we've been over the last 30 odd days, because believe it or not, we're actually coming to the end of our 32 days on here now. So stick with me. Hopefully it'll give you a good insight into what it's like, and you know, what we've thought about it. So the very first thing is to give you some history about the boat. It was built around 2000ish, I think maybe late 90s. It's had various different owners, different names, had a full refurbishment in 2023. Oh, by the way, I've got some notes here, so I'm going to be going through these, so if you see me looking down, don't worry about that too much. So it's had a full refit in 2023. And what's happened is it's been cruising around with French people on it under the EFC flag for quite a few years, but it's been half full and it hasn't really been making any money. So they've recently got into bed with Ambassador Cruises. Ambassador already have two other ships, the Ambience and the Ambition, and it's a slightly different model now. So instead of just having French people on it, it's roughly a third English, a third Dutch and a third French. And the other thing with it is that people are not just getting on it at the start and getting off at the end and staying together for 2 weeks. People are getting off and on at different places. So we got on at London Tilbury. Brits got off and on in Barbados, some Dutch got on in Amsterdam, they also got off and on in Curaçao, and the French got on in Dunkirk, and they also got off and on in Guadeloupe. And as we've gone along, various people have got off and on at different times, so it's very much like a train going down the track, stopping at lots of different stations now. Now, I'm not sure that a lot of people will not, who are used to cruising, and we're not used to cruising by any stretch of the imagination. You know, this is only our second cruise in 20 years. So, but for a lot of people who are, this is kind of like a slightly different model. What I also want to do is I'll tell you the cost that we paid. Right, so we did, the very first cruise we did was 18 nights. It went from London Tilbury, so there's no cost in getting there. London Tilbury, it went to IJmuiden in Amsterdam, Dunkirk, then it was supposed to go to Lisbon in Portugal, but there was a strike in Lisbon and they wouldn't let anybody into the ports, the dockers wouldn't, so it went to Vigo in Spain, and then we went to the Azores. Then we had 6 nights going across the Atlantic, and then we went to Antigua, Dominica, St. Lucia, and then it got to Barbados, and it changed people, and the Brits all got off. We should have got off there, but a few days before we got there, we decided, hang on a minute, we've only been to 3 places in the Caribbean, we have retired, it is pouring down with rain in England, why don't we stay on? So we went downstairs, asked them how much it would cost to stay on, got what we thought was a good deal, and I think it is a good deal, and so we stayed on. So I'll tell you the cost now. It's cost us 2,236 for the 18 nights, plus it cost us 216 in gratuities, because the gratuities, tips, etc., which they take off your credit card at the end, come £6 per person per night. So that comes to a total of £2,452, which is £68 per person per night. Now, I'm not a big fan of the gratuities, and I don't believe in it. I think that they should, if they're going to pay staff gratuities and tips, they should just pay them, right? Not bother me about it, and just tell me what the real price is going to be. The follow-on cruise for the 14 nights cost 2,158 plus 168 in gratuities, and that came to £2,326, which is £83 per night. Now, we didn't have any drinks packages or anything, because I don't drink, and you know what Chesney drinks, you know, would only cost £10 in a whole year. So we didn't have any drinks packages. We could have bought them, and if we'd have bought the drinks package, we wouldn't have had to pay the gratuities. There you go. How did we find out about it? We booked it on a whim. We just saw it in an estate agent's window, and we thought, there you go, let's give it a try. So we did. We found out though, since we've been on here, lots of people paid lots of different prices. what we paid is, everybody agrees that that's a really good price for the cruising we've done, but others have paid a lot more, and they're going to have to sort that out before the end, because you can't have people paying such disparity of prices, and because the people who paid a lot more are not happy. And I think that the overall enjoyment people are having of this cruise is directly related to how much they paid for it. People like us that have got an apparent bargain, very happy with it. Okay, so admin pre-cruise, getting on the cruise, absolutely fine, right? It was painless. Getting on at London Tilbury, absolutely painless. Got on, bags arrived outside the door like within an hour or two. Absolutely fine. Daily getting off and on, absolutely fine. Down the gangplank, straight out, little click of the ticket, there's the card, little click of that, out you go. Fantastic. Same getting back on. So cabins, we're really happy with our cabin. We paid the extra. We could have gone on this for less than £1,000 if we'd gone with an inside cabin, and we would have been happy with an inside cabin, but because we were going across the Atlantic for so many days, we actually wanted a window. So we paid an extra little bit for a window. Cabins are good, nice and clean. The decor's good in them. I think some people said it's had a light refurb and they're a bit dated, but I think they're fine. Bed's really super comfortable. Nice bit of furniture in there, nice sofa, bathroom's fine, sink's fine, good hot water all the time, no noise whatsoever from any of the other cabins. You get a chair, a desk, we had a little sofa, there's tea and coffee in there that gets replenished daily. There's a good size safe that you can fit a laptop and everything into, and they also provide all your soap, moisturisers, etc. The couple of little niggles with it are the aircon. It's got switches in there and a little dial like that for the aircon, but it doesn't work. The aircon just comes out with a grate anyway, and for the first few days it wasn't working particularly brilliantly, and it was very hot in there. It's fine now. And the other little niggle for me is there's only one plug, and it's by the desk. It's not near the bed. And most people want to plug their stuff in by the bed these days, so it could do with another plug. Right, move on to food. There's quite a few different places to eat. There's not like loads, but there's quite a few different places to eat. You can get food on here from 7 AM in the morning until 9 o'clock at night, right? In various different places. You can get tea and water all day long, and you can fill up your water bottles all day long, etc. Upstairs in the buffet is a free run buffet. You don't have to queue from one end to the other. There's lots of little stations, and they've all served different things. Like in the morning, one's doing eggs benedict, one's doing omelettes, one's doing fry-ups, one's doing waffles. You just get your plate and go to whichever station you want, get whatever you want. Tea and coffee machines are there all the while anyway. The little niggle for me, the food isn't always piping hot. It's always good and it's always nice, but it's not always piping hot. And as a vegetarian myself, I would say there was a good selection for vegetarians. Now up in the buffet, there's lots of separate tables. You can go on your own or you can share with somebody else. One of our friends was gluten-free. They got blue plates. They had their stuff on blue plates. They ordered their food the day before. It was made for them especially. There's also a wide selection of salads, cooked dinner, stir fries, puddings. I had sponge pudding and custard every day for like 30 days, but that's the way I like it. I'd say there was no real queues in the morning or any time, and you could always find a seat. In addition to going to the buffet, you can go to the Lido and pick up a burger and chips, and there's a salad and puddings there. And then for breakfast, dinner and evening meal, you can go into the Vattel restaurant and have a proper served at your table dinner as well. And that was really good. So there were a few niggles to start off with. The service wasn't particularly good. The food wasn't particularly, didn't always come on time. Sometimes it took 2 hours to get a 3-course meal, and it wasn't particularly good initially, but they soon got past that, and since then the service has been really good. Very friendly staff, very attentive, very polite, etc. Right, there's a good selection of bars on the boat. Lots of different bars, plenty of waiters kicking around taking your order. Prices, I'd say they were prices are average UK town centre prices, so it's like £4.50 for an alcohol-free beer, £5 or £6 for a cocktail, £5 or £6 for a pint of Heineken, etc. Good range of spirits and wines. There is only one draft beer, which is Heineken. Heineken Zero comes in bottles, and some people said that the wines were mostly French wines. You can also get a good selection of specialities coffees throughout the day. There's lots of lounges, lots of different lounges, so you can find a place you like and sit there. Panoramic lounge at the top is right out the front of the boat. The Explorers Lounge has a good selection of books, games and jigsaws. The Masala Lounge has loads of events and quizzes during the day, and there's, like, I'm sitting in one of the piano bar lounges now, which will have a pianist on tonight. It's 2 different pianists playing in 2 different styles, a violinist, etc. Entertainment, there's something on every single day, loads of stuff on every single day. There's more on sea days. Just to run through some of the things they do, there's dance classes, there's various lectures we've been to, there's craft clubs, games, quizzes, cooking demonstrations. There's a choir class with one of the opera singer does a choir class. There's gym classes such as spinning, HIIT, yoga, Pilates. There's book clubs, card school, etc. Some of them are hosted, some of them are unhosted. There's also, as I said, the piano bars, etc. You can go and watch the singer, watch the pianist, watch the guitarist, and then every night there's a top quality show with a full cast of at least 12 people, singing, dancing, some acting in between, loads of costume changes, absolutely top quality. That's on every night at 8:30, repeat again at 10. And then they've had special nights as well in the Lido, where they dress the Lido up really smartly. They've had an ABBA white night party, tropical party, sail away nights, and then in the Vattel restaurant they've also had formal gala evenings as well. Lots of people here bought dicky bow ties, cummerbunds, dinner jackets, black suits. I bought a black suit, dicky bow tie, etc. Okay, let's move on to sunbeds, right? You can always find a sunbed. There's some sunbeds around the Lido pool, there's sunbeds around the outdoor pool, there's some up on deck 12, there's some up on deck 14. If it's not too choppy, deck 14's open, they put some on there. We've never not been able to find a sunbed around the pool or something like that. They do have a 30-minute rule applies, so if you leave your stuff more than 30 minutes, they'll respectfully fold it up and put it on the side, and I have seen them applying that as well. It's busier sometimes than others. Sea days is obviously busy, but it's still tolerable, and they are good sunbeds, and they've got a built-in pillow, etc. And you do get a pool towel as well. They don't mind taking the pool towel to the beach as well, so we've took ours every day to the beach, brought it back covered in sand, not a dicky bird said. Pools, they've got the one inside, which is the Lido with the retractable roof, and that's got 2 jacuzzis as well. There's always room in the jacuzzi as well. Plenty of chairs and tables around there. We quite often like to go and get a coffee and just sit there with our feet on the edge and look out at the sea. And of course there's a pool bar there where you can get burger and chips, and then there's the outside pool on the back deck, which again has the waiters coming around asking you for drinks, etc. You know, and you get to look at the ocean as well while you're out there. Just once or twice the pool wasn't open on the way over. When we came across to the Azores, it was really rough, and they emptied the pools out because the water was actually coming out of them all over the deck. But you know, that's to be expected. There's a reception desk which is manned 24/7, an excursions desk where you can book your trips, and there's a future cruises desk. And the Dutch company Colendenstep have their own desk here as well, because lots of the Dutch people are actually organised through that company. And then you can use your cabin boy for problems and to report problems. You know, when ours wasn't, aircon wasn't working, we got him to sort that out. And then finally, while we're looking at things on the outside, there's a promenade deck as well, which is on deck 6. Really nice, wide, good promenade deck. It was shut for a couple of days coming across to the Azores just because the weather was so torrential and the winds were so strong, but generally it's open all the time. 4 laps of that is 1.6k, which is a mile, and it's 400 meters all the way round. Okay, let's look at the service then. We've had good service on this. Our cabin boy has been absolutely excellent, really nice lad, really attentive, really polite, very nice to chat to. So the problem is, when it first changed over and we got on in Tilbury, half the staff got on brand new as well. So there was a few days of bedding in, but the price, you know, I think the price reflected the fact that they actually thought there'd be some bedding in to do. So after the first few days, the service has been absolutely fantastic, you know. Really polite, lots of Indian, Sri Lankan staff, really polite, really attentive, very friendly, very happy, you know, etc. I know they get gratuities and tips, and I think that's great, but you know my views on that. I think that they should just put the gratuities into the price and tell you what the proper price is from the start. Okay, let me just look at some other stuff. Wi-Fi costs about £14 a day. It's absolutely rubbish. There's just too many people using it, especially when you're far from land. What we did is we used our European SIM card right down to the Azores. The days we were at sea, we didn't bother with it, except for coming across the Atlantic, because it's 6 days. We just bought Wi-Fi for the middle day, just to make sure everything was all right at home. And then when we got to the Caribbean, we bought an Aerolo SIM card each. It was 35 quid and covers you for 26 different Caribbean countries. So effectively we were using that in the day, and when we go to sea at night, we didn't, just when we went from land, like anything else, we couldn't get it until next morning. But you know, you're going to get it for an hour or two sailing away from land anyway. Excursions, we went on one excursion. It was good value for what we did, but the others we've just done our own thing. Every place you go to, you get off the ship, you walk out of the port, and there's a million taxi drivers, tour companies, excursions, etc. If you get in with a couple of people as well, you know, you meet lots of people on here. We've been on lots of excursions with other people. You can get a good deal if there's 4 or 6 of you. You know, and what we've been doing generally is we have a look what the ship's doing, what excursions they've got to offer. We then have a look at Get Your Guide and see what, or TripAdvisor, and see what excursions they recommend, and then we decide what we're going to do, and we either book something with one of them, or more than likely we go to the gate and we get a local guy who's doing roughly what the ship's doing. And then we also use ChatGPT a lot as well. If you're not comfy haggling or sorting your own stuff out, or you're a bit worried about that, do a ship's tour or do a Get Your Guide tour. If you do a ship's tour, everything's included. You haven't got to pay any extras to get into a part. You haven't got to do any haggling, and you know they're definitely going to get you back because it's a ship's tour, so they have to. There was, on the way over to the Azores, there was a lot of seasickness and a lot of illness in general. We've seen at least 5 or 6 ambulances meet this ship so far, but that's just the demographics of the people on it. It was really rough coming to the Azores. They had free seasickness tablets available at reception, and lots of sick bags kicking around. There's 1 doctor on here, there's 3 nurses on here, and other medical staff, you know, and that's probably just due to the demographics of the people on here. So value for money, I would say it depends on what you pay for it. They should give the price inclusive of the tips and gratuities. We bought it because it was priced to sell. Everybody in the travel agent said, oh my goodness, that's a good price. Everybody on here said, oh, that's a good price. I didn't find anybody who paid less than us. I found a few people who paid the same as us. I suspect they priced this to sell, knowing there might be some problems to start off with, and I suspect they're also going to get a few rough reviews out of this as well. But this ship has been used to bobbing around in the sea for a year or two, only half full. Overall, I'd say we booked to the last minute. We stayed on for even more, so it can't have been that bad, otherwise we wouldn't have stayed on, would we? It was all price based. To start with, it was a little bit chaotic, but they seemed to learn quickly. There was hugely rough seas to the Azores for 3 days. Lots of stuff was closed or cancelled. You know, you can't have a show with dancers when the boat is bobbing around in the sea and it's whacking into the waves and all that, because it's just not safe. Some of the lifts were closed because you could hear the cables smashing against the sides in the lifts. You know, who'd want to get into the lift like that anyway? 6 days across the Atlantic was much more enjoyable than you might think. We got in with a really good crowd of people, and we had a fantastic time, all going to dinner together, mucking around together. It was absolutely brilliant. The staff are really friendly, very personable. The shows are absolutely great. There's loads to do on sea days, and there's stuff to do on non-sea days as well. There's a good selection of food, although it's not always piping hot. There's table sharing in the restaurant and in the buffet. It's not everybody's taste. We went table sharing all the while because we thought it was great to see a good mix of people chatting to all different people, etc. We did refine that down, and when we went to the restaurant at nights, we said we'll table share, but not with French, please, because we don't speak any French. They don't speak much English, and there's no point in sitting there saying nothing. The Dutch were absolutely friendly forces throughout, and lots of them speak English, and we had some fantastic tables sitting with Dutch people and had a great laugh with them too. The mix of personalities, I'd say, is still working itself through. The Dutch and the Brits are fine, and they always have been friendly forces. When we first got on this boat, the French people were openly hostile towards us, and openly hostile to having other nationalities on there, on here, and at times, you know, that's grated me a little bit. The French are not known for, you know, being polite anyway, and you know, I just think that they feel that their ship has been invaded by other nationalities. The other thing I'd say is there has been some moaning on here, you know, because it's been an inaugural cruise. And remember, this was sold as an inaugural cruise, but it's not an inaugural cruise after refit. The only inaugural bit about it is its ambassador in with the FC. The ship just came from the Med as a normal ship would, and then went across to the Caribbean for winter, like most of these ships do. So there was nothing new about it, apart from half the staff and that. Anyway, as I was saying about moaners, there are some moaners on here, and you know, 1,000 people on the ship for a couple of weeks or however, it's a good place to see people behaving badly. I've had a couple of people, you know, having a go at me for allegedly jumping into a queue that only existed in their mind, and you know, I've seen other people, you know, nearly getting into fisticuffs over a chair that was taken and things like that. So the moaning got me down a little bit. Would I do it again? No, not in the near future. I went on one cruise 20 odd years ago. This is fine, but the thing is, me and good lady wife, we're more about travelling, and this is more about a floating hotel and holidaying. This isn't travelling, this is holidaying. This is not adventuresome, etc. I'd maybe consider it later in life when we were less able, you know, and we're less able to get out and adventure and all things like that. But I would say we've had a great time on here. We had a great time crossing the Atlantics. You know, we've had a great time 2 weeks around the Caribbean. It's been absolutely superb. And out of 10, I think I'd give it 7, maybe 8 out of 10. Right, hope that's helped you. If it has, please leave some comments below, you know, give me some feedback on it. Ask me any questions you want, and I'll put that and I'll answer them for you. And also, if you check up here, you'll be able to see my walk around tour video as well, and hopefully that'll help you. And then if you subscribe to our channel, and if you like this, which would be great, then check out all the videos, because I made a video, I've made I think 5 or 6 videos of all the different places we've been to and everything, so you can get the full-ish and decide whether you want to come yourself. Thanks for watching. Bye.